So, virtual reality has become a lot more popular over the past couple of years. This is because it has given gamers a whole new way to play their favourite games, as well as experience brand new games that can only be pulled off in virtual reality. I'm talking about you, Beat Saber. It has also become one of the more cheaper console options, with the Quest 2 being available pre-owned for around £150, which is super cheap for a relatively new gaming console. But this wasn't always the case. Rewind to around 2016 when the HTC Vive released to consumers. This was a headset that cost £689 on its release. And if that doesn't sound bad enough, just remember that the Vive controllers did not have thumbsticks. Your method of movement was teleportation, which in my opinion is an outdated locomotion method only used by the users that get motion sickness easily. The Vive also required tracking stations, and we haven't even began talking about the kind of PC that you require. And VR was basically kind of like this, with the Oculus Rift being the sensible option and the Valve Index being the bougie setup that everybody wanted to get their hands on. The cheapest thing available was the PSVR, and although that was a fantastic experience for the time, it was bulky and it required about 5 different cables to set up each time you wanted to play on it. Now this was the case in the VR industry until May 21st, 2019, the day the Oculus Quest first released. The Oculus Quest was a huge leap forward in the VR industry. Never before had we seen a wireless VR headset that performed so well and for so cheap. £399 for a VR headset was basically unheard of before the PSVR, and even then you had to own a PS4 to use it, which was another £200 at the time. So the Quest was basically the cheapest option available. What was and is still impressive about the Quest series of headsets is that they are powered by glorified mobile phone parts. And yet, these headsets present some of the most stunning visuals that we have seen in virtual reality. The Oculus Quest came with many top VR games that had been adjusted for the hardware it was using. Games such as Beat Saber, Superhot and Blade and Sorcery were all notable releases for the headset. This was at a time where some of the best games that were available on the Quest weren't actually available on the PSVR. But the feature that I'd argue was the best feature of them all was the fact that the Oculus Quest could link up to a PC tower in order to play PC VR games. One of my fondest memories on the Oculus Quest 1 was playing Half-Life Alyx, because it was the first game that I truly thought was stunning. The Quest 1 sold millions of headsets in its first year of release, which for a product that was really experimental is really impressive. It also meant that when the COVID pandemic came, not even a year after the Quest's release, there was a huge incentive for people to get involved in virtual reality. Considering the Quest 2 didn't come out until October of the same year, the Quest 1 was the perfect headset for VR users of all experiences. But no video about the first Quest headset would be complete without mentioning the fact that the life cycle of the Quest 1 was ridiculously short. Now this had a lot to do with the fact that the Quest 2 released 18 months after the original Quest and promised virtually 2 times the power at a cheaper price point. As if that wasn't convincing enough, the Quest 2 released with Resident Evil 4 in VR mode, which was the main reason why I bought a Quest 2 so early on despite having the Quest 1. But just because the Quest 1 had such a short life cycle and was eventually overshadowed by the Quest 2 does not mean that it wasn't one of the most influential pieces of technology to ever make an impact in the VR community. The Oculus Quest was a revolutionary product that never got its flowers, so to speak. The attention that it did deserve was given to the Quest 2 because that too was a revolutionary piece of tech, which is why it is probably the most mentioned headset on my channel. But that wouldn't have even existed if it wasn't for the Quest original, which in itself actually made the Oculus Rift redundant too, with it doing literally everything the Rift can do, with the choice of using it as a standalone headset as well. Sometimes you're a predator, sometimes you're prey. But that is basically everything I wanted to say about the Quest. A great headset that changed the course of VR forever. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to check out some of my other videos. I'm sure you'll enjoy them too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.